Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Chaos-Reighn here. Today I am bringing you a special video that was requested by a friend slash subscriber. This video is my Eternity Shroud Ice-Shot build and basically a build showcase of where I have it right now in standard and what I am doing with it, its performance, and what I'm able to accomplish with it. So, without further ado, let's hop straight into it. Now, I will say that this build is basically a passion project that I've had for a while, and I've been kind of adding things and changing things a little bit here and there as I go along with the build. This is definitely a non-tanky variant. I've seen a 4 or 5k health variant, but this is pure glass cannon, so I can just kind of take things out as fast as possible. So, let's go ahead and start with the gear layout. So as you can see, everything is shaped. We have crafted pretty much everything that isn't unique, but we'll start with the bow. Our bow is a Harvest crafted 6T1 thicket bow. I know it's not 30 quality, I will eventually get to that, but as you can see, it has socketed deals more, T1 cold, T1 dex stack, bow attacks fire 2 additional arrows, T1 attack speed double damage, and then quality dex. Now the quality dex is just kind of there for lulz. I usually put on double damage just because I can and because it doesn't really matter if I have the dex or not. I just wanted to have the big number on dex because I could at that time, but I just didn't change it because there's no real point in the double damage because I already pretty much delete content. Next we'll go to our helmet. Our helmet is a Shaped Crusader Asenath chant. Now we use the Asenath chant because we like our other variant of the build, like to use Sniper's Mark, Hydrosphere, and Blood Rage in our helmet. Now what we can do to make this even better is we can have a third green socket right here and put in Coaling Strike, but I have yet to do that and I haven't really been on this character because I've been doing a lot of league related stuff and stuff like that. Now right here we have a 6 white Eternity Shroud, just basically because we can. We have our Harvest crafted. Actually, I don't think this one was Harvest crafted. I think I actually crafted this by chance a long time ago in, I'd like to say Delirium League. It's pretty much there for the non-channeling skills have -7 total mana cost, so I can basically shoot my ice shot for almost free. Then, then we have a Shaped Pyre Ring. The Shaped Pyre Ring converts the rest of our cold damage into fire damage. I'll get to the other conversions shortly. And it gives us ignite damage, and it destroys anything that is ignited. Then we have our dex stacking amulet. It isn't all the be all end all. We don't have damage per dex, but as I said, we are also running an E-Shroud build. So the damage per dex is just kind of like, hey, I'm shooting an ant with a rocket launcher. We do have a Shaped Elder Hiri's Demise. This was basically trashed and treasured by myself, basically so I could have this and kind of enjoy using it in standard. And it's one of my babies, I'm not gonna lie. We have our life, LE damage, try T1 resistance, Stygian Vice with excuse me, with a life, cold damage, attack speed if I crit multi, jewel in it. Then we have our old school old Harvest Tailwind boots, or elusive boots, sorry, they're elusive with gain fizz as cold, fire res, onslaught on kill, and chaos res. They also and of course the 35 movement speed. We chose the enchant of attack speed if I've killed recently because that is just the most optimal thing to do. Then we have our babies that we crafted at the end of last league. These are our 7 link gloves. They give us insane damage, and this is where we put our clear skill. Now our clear skill is obviously Ice Shot, and the reason why we're putting our clear in here is because our clear gets 90 multi, it gets attack speed, it gets projectile speed, it gets the more multiplier from slower projectiles, and then I think faster projectiles has an increase. I am unsure, but we can always, just because I always forget, I'll just go over here and type in faster and then go to green and show you right here faster projectile support. Faster projectile support has increased projectile damage and increased projectile speed, and the quality gives it more attack speed and cast speed. Obviously, we don't get the quality because it is just in their gloves, but we do get level 20 of this, and as you see, we still get projectile damage and insane amounts of projectile speed when it's level 25. Now, for our links, we will start with our single target. We have a cold to fire, barrage support, elemental damage with attacks, anomalous inspiration for the crit chance, ice shot, and added cold damage for our single target. For our clear, we are rocking cold to fire, greater multiple projectiles, awakened chain, and ice shot. And then, of course, level 25 faster projectiles and level 25 slower projectiles. On top of getting the 90 more multiplier on it, we also have the T1 flat cold on there and everything like that, just to kind of add a little bit of extra oomph to it. We wanted to make these gloves as much damage as possible while being ready for the ice shot build, obviously giving us crit chance and elemental damage if we dealt a crit recently, which we do crit fairly recently. For our links in our helmet, we obviously have the Sniper's Mark, the Hydrosphere, the Blood Rage, and eventually I'll put in a Coaling Strike or something of that sort. For our armor, we have Awakened Hex Touch, Elemental Weakness, Frostbite, Herald of Ice, Ensnaring Arrow, Herald of Ash. We are able to use both because we have just enough mana reserve in our kit to make it work. We have Second Wind to dash with the increased travel distance and the increased usages on our Second Wind. We have Precision, low level, just so we can get a little bit more accuracy and crit chance. We have Anomalous Hatred, just so we can have a chill and freeze duration increase on the enemies we chill and freeze. Not only do we delete things, but bosses usually get chilled and or frozen if they don't get deleted right away. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and grab a quick little map here to kind of show you. I will warn you, this is straight up a glass cannon, so don't expect me to, survive a be-all end-all major fight with a boss, but I will grab a Forge of the Phoenix on Awakener 9 and kind of show you how the performance is of this build and what you can kind of expect if you spend an exuberant amount of currency and mini leagues building it. Oh, I did actually, to correct an before statement, I actually cannot currently reserve both Herald of Ash and Herald of Ice, but what I remember is what I do is sometimes I'll switch to Herald of Ice if I need to do extra cold damage, or I'll switch to Herald of Ash if I want to clear more. Herald of Ash helps you clear very, very easily, especially when all of your damage is being converted to fire. Keep in mind that we are still doing a fair amount of elemental damage, but all of our damage ends up being gained as chaos damage because of the way Eternity Shroud works. If you are unaware exactly of how Eternity Shroud works, Eternity Shroud has this line all the way at the bottom there. It says gain 5% of elemental damage as extra chaos damage per Shaper item equipped. Now, the way gains work is you gain before convert and after convert. So first it's my fizz, then I convert fizz to cold, and then I gain my cold as chaos, and then I convert my cold to fire, and I gain all the fire as chaos as well. On top of it, hits ignore enemies' chaos resistance while all items are Shaper, and as you can see, every item on my kit is Shaper. Now for our tree, we do have a pretty big chunk of investment in our build. We are currently using we're using this just because we have it. This is a 1% RMR for non-channeling -9. Then we have our Hatred base crit jewel, just because that's all we really need. We don't really need any more damage. Then we have our triple multi extra life movement speed jewel. We're currently using a Storm Rider node with power charge again when I shock a chilled enemy, and we gain 25%, and then increased cold damage versus shocked, and increased lightning damage versus that. And then our other node is elemental damage. Elemental damage reaches life. We currently have a brutal restraint, which is giving us 20 dex here, elemental damage here, cold res here. That's helping us get cold cap. 5% dex here, 5% dex here, 5% dex here, and then non-unique flasks are applied. Non-unique flasks have a percent increase effect. Now we are going to go down here, and we are using a single 3 passive voices, just so we can use as little points as possible. Our character can be pushed a little bit higher in levels, but I just didn't really find a use for it. We do have a Whispers of Death here for damage if I've killed a cursed enemy recently, and then we have a Dark Discourse, which cursed enemies are hindered to slow them down. Ideally, you would probably want a culling, but because of my helmet setup, I actually forewent the culling, so I can do it this way. Our Curse Cluster also happens to be our Corrupted Blood Jewel, so we can kind of solve 2 birds with 1 stone. We have a Quick Getaway node with a Eye of the Storm node here, which is crit chance, effective non-damaging elements if I've inflicted crit. And then we have crit, steal double damage, and crit chance if I haven't blocked, crit multi if I have blocked. Basically, it's just a lot of crit chance. Our tree is fairly normal for a deck stacking tree. As you can see, is pretty normally pathed. I am not taking any inspired learnings, and I do not need a headhunter in this build. However, I do have a shaped headhunter just so I can build, just so I can do that kind of grinding and whatnot. And it's in there somewhere, or it's on another character. Anyway, so let's go ahead and show you where we're at and what we're doing. The flasks are self-explanatory, but just in case you don't know, we have a Net Series Promise, Dying Sun, Bottled Faith, Alchemist Quicksilver of Adrenaline, and a Bubbling Live Flask of Staunching. Now, the reason we have our double curse setup is because our Herald of Ash applies our Hex Touch along with our Ensnaring Arrow, I believe. Let me make sure. If I go like this, Hex Touch says Herald of Ice supported. Herald of Ash is not supported, but Herald of Ice is. That's why I did it. I did this usually if I wanted to clear easier. Sometimes it really depends on how you want to do. If you need the curses, if enemies have more resistances, you can switch your heralds at any point for this setup. However, I don't really use the heralds on the bosses. Or should I say the Herald of Ash or Herald of Ice on bosses. I basically curse with Ensnaring Arrow. And if you read Ensnaring Arrow says enemies snared by your Ensnaring Arrow take, I think it's like 20-something% more, take 20-something% more projectile damage, and that's a lot of extra damage for you. Now, as you can see, literally everything's just getting like 1 or 2 tapped. Everything here has more 58% more monster life. Obviously, I'm Awakener 9, so that little modifier is buffed a little bit. Things are still dying relatively quick. I literally don't have to worry about anything. My movement speed is naturally fast. I don't have to have anything else but Tailwind. I do have Elusive on crit when it does proc, but I believe yeah, there it is. It's procking now. So let's kill that, and let's go ahead and see our DPS versus the boss, shall we? And it's Maven, so, and just like that, the boss is dead. Go ahead and grab our stuff. What do we get? Nothing. Cool. And that is pretty much our Eternity Shroud Ice-Shot variant. As you can see, this is really glass cannony, and Blood Rage really hurts this build. But Blood Rage is also a lot of attack speed for us, so we don't want to drop it. We have a lot of ways to kind of change and modify this build if we want to. Our clear, as you can see, shoots a lot of arrows, partially because we have this, partially because we're Deadeye Ascendancy, and just so you can kind of get an idea of what Ascendancy I am doing Deadeye. I'm using Gathering Winds, Ricochet, Endless Munitions, and Far Shot. If you need any kind of other help with this tree or anything with this build, I am more than welcome. I am more than willing to share with you. We actually have a couple of these jewels, I think. There's one here. There's the one up there. I think we made 3 for this build. Yeah, we made 3 for this build. And then down here we have a Dex Intelligence split and a Dex Max Life split, so we have even more life. We have a 2700 life pull. If you can't tell, I literally went against life on every single turn. I went 35 movement speed, elusive, gain physics, cold, just because it is an E-Shroud build. And the only life I really have is right here on my belt, and that's only because I couldn't force any more damage on it. And then I have no more life anywhere else. This ring is literally an older ring that I just kind of put on here because it does do damage against chilled or frozen enemies, and it helps a lot. Now, I will say that because we are converting our cold to fire, a lot of times we don't really chill or freeze enemies super consistently, but we do chill them. There is a lot of cold damage, and you can still do insane stuff with the chill and everything with this build. If you couldn't tell, that was an A9 Hydra. No, was that that was a Phoenix, Awakener 9 Phoenix with extra life modifier on it, and on top of the extra life and all that other stuff, I basically just dashed once to move out of the way and I insta deleted it. Now this has been my Mirror Tier / Eternity Shroud Ice-Shot build. This is basically a build your own kind of variant. I will say you don't have to use the crazy stuff I use. If you want, you can try for a Shape Death Opus and maybe some simpler to craft stuff. All the stuff I have is crafted very carefully and with a lot of dedication and time in Harvest League, and that's why I have the stuff I have. Thank you very much for watching. This goes out to one of my friends that basically wanted me to cover my Eternity Shroud Ice-Shot build. I figured I'd you know, do him the favor and show him a kind of layout of what my build looks like. I hope he enjoys it. You know who you are. Giving you a shout out, but I don't want to name drop just in case you don't want to, you know, share your name with everyone in the world. But love you guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you like my Eternity Shroud Ice-Shot build, and I do hope that you do enjoy the content I'm bringing you in League. I will be bringing you more as I go by, but lately I've been kind of a little bit busy trying to do stuff in League, and I've been going through a lot of personal kind of mental things, so I'm, you know, it's just kind of hard for me to push past that. But I will be on and I will be active, so don't worry about me. I'm good. Love you guys. Take it easy, and as always, you guys have a good one.